he walks off is like, Mikey. It was so sick. And it was probably the best experience I've ever had at an event like that. Because they involve the audience so much.
No, I am the father.
And here we go.
That belongs in a museum.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
This is Sparta!
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Welcome back to Easily Entertained. We're excited. Today we have an interesting topic that, once again, kind of like the Minecraft video, dives a little bit away from the typical movie and TV reviews.
Yep.
This time we are talking concerts.
Live music, baby.
Heck yeah. I just got to go to my first major concert this last weekend, the band Camino with Bad Sons and Charlotte Sands. Absolutely fantastic. Cormick got to go to Greta Van Fleet not too long ago.
Dude, yeah.
And so I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about our concert experiences, because for me, it was my first time actually going to a big major concert. I have been to a couple of the local musician concerts that are around Cedar City, and I've done that kind of stuff before, like you just attend little events, but nothing major, not like a big production with like thousands of people.
Yeah.
And so I was super excited to go, especially because the band Camino is my favorite band. And
because they go hard.
Because they do. Because it's pop rock, and I really like that genre. Cormick definitely knows, because I listen to that kind of stuff all the time. Some normal rock and then some alt kind of stuff. I have this kind of trio of music that I just always like to listen to.
True enough.
Cormick has been listening to it in the car before, and he's like, this music just I now associate with you. And I'm like, that's what I like.
That's
I'm like,
exactly
because then if you hear that kind of music, you can send it my way.
True enough.
So it's great. But yeah, so we're going to talk concerts today.
Chicka-chow.
Yeah, and Cormick, it was not your first concert?
Yeah,
I
mean, it's I want to say it's my first because I love Greta Van Fleet so much. But I do really also love the first concert I went to. I guess it's also inaccurate to say, but the way I think of it in my head is Greta is my first serious concert because I had first seen Weird Al in concert.
Yeah.
And, of course, if you know me at all, that makes a good amount of sense.
Yeah. Cormick basically is Weird Al.
I wish. Are you kidding? Oh, man. He's definitely somebody I've watched for a while, looked up to for sure. And anyway.
Literally before this recording, he was just making up a song to the tune of Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. I'm like, he's basically Weird Al, so it makes so much sense.
I was doing that. That's a good point. Because Bryson had to leave for the bathroom, so I was like, Since You've Been Gone.
Since you've been gone. And he's just making up lyrics, and then out of nowhere, Since You've Been Gone.
yeah, exactly. So Weird Al definitely is first. And then when I really started to discover why I love live music was actually here at SUU at one of the tailgates. There was an 80s cover band at just homecoming tailgate last year, maybe the year before. I was losing my mind because that is my music.
Yeah,
right.
80s is jam, and that's definitely where you sit for sure. Is the 80s music.
All that dad rock, absolutely. You hit Journey, literally any Journey song, I am there.
Cormick's like, yes.
And I was
please.
like, in high school with all the high school dances that I went to, I was like, I'm never ever going to mosh pit. That just looks like a waste of time and a bunch of junk and a bunch of nonsense. And then the 80s cover band said, but I think you'll like this one. And I was like, dang, you're right.
You're right. I'm jumping in.
I went hard for that 80s rock band. And then, so it was like my first like sort of big event experience probably was actually Brian Regan. Then I went to see Weird Al and then Greta Van Fleet. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't been to a lot of major concerts, but I've been to a good amount of the local stuff, especially working at the radio station. So
yeah. And that's very much a similar case for me. I've been to big events before, but not like for a music artist specifically. Right. I think that may not technically be true, because I know as a kid, I think my parents took me to like Bob the Builder live, which is hilarious. But other than that, it's definitely only been the local stuff, which don't get me wrong, that can be
great.
That can be really fun, especially if the local artists are really good.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a different feel because it's
downscaled.
It is downscaled, and there's not as much production put into it because the music can still be good, but if you don't have like all this major equipment, it's not going to sound the same, and you're not going to get the same feel as you do at a big major concert.
Right, and even just the audience count makes a difference.
Exactly,
because the groups will feed off the audience so hard, and so will you, because when there's that many people in one geographic place, all just having the time of their life, it's energetic.
Exactly, and that makes me think. So here in Cedar City, Utah, obviously we're a small town, so we don't have a ton of people in general.
Yeah.
But we have a couple like local music events that happen every semester. We work with the radio station, and we've put on Guitars Unplugged and Battle of the Bands. And then there's a art center in town that does a show called $2 Tuesday, and they get local artists on. Even the difference between those two can be vastly different. Guitars Unplugged is more like a kind of sit-in, kind of chillax.
Yeah, it's
kind
almost
of vibe.
they're almost going for like the coffee house live music.
Exactly, and that's the kind of vibe it fits. But $2 Tuesday, I find that was closer to the concert experience I had with the band Camino
100%.
than it was just being at Guitars Unplugged. And it's not even like that the artists were bigger. It was the same artists, but it's just the venue changes. People are more kind of cramped in. And so you kind of get this social pressure to start being like, woo! Yeah. But that makes for a really good concert. And especially 100%. For both of us, we went to rock concerts.
Dude, yeah.
And so those are, from what I'm taking, are probably the best way to do a concert because it just, that kind of music hits for a concert vibe.
Oh yeah. My older brother got to see last year at the University of Utah. At the end of every year, they have a big concert, for graduating and what have you. It was the Bleachers last year.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Yeah, that is awesome.
I almost went up to go watch with him. My little brother got to go. He got to go for free. They both got to go for free because my older brother was a student there, and so it's free for the students. And he's like, I almost can't listen to Bleachers music anymore because I've heard it live. And then, like a few weeks ago, he's like, dude, they released live recordings of all their music, so it's perfect.
Oh, that's so sick because the Bleachers are so
they're so good.
I love their music.
If you think Taylor Swift was successful just on her own, you're wrong. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong about Taylor Swift. Very talented. But Jack Antonoff, singer of the Bleachers, helped make Taylor Swift, okay? His production and his work on her stuff, you would have, it'd
be a whole different ball game.
Whole different ball game. Guy's a genius, and he's definitely deserves everything he has. Anyway.
Oh, jealous, because that's so cool.
Yeah. My older brother has a lot more live music experience. He got to go to Imagine Dragons concert, early Imagine Dragons concert for free.
I'm jealous of that, too, because I like the Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, he was on an airplane for one of his gym meets, he and my mom, and I think they were going to Texas, I don't know. And there's this older lady sitting next to him, and then they just kind of start talking, and then she notices that Jake is playing Imagine Dragons music, and she goes, oh, I'm one of their grandmas.
Bruh.
And so
That's
after that
awesome.
meeting, she posted something on like Facebook, and my mom, of course, saw it because she was like, I'm looking for these two nice people. I want to give them tickets to one of my grandson's shows.
Oh,
and
that's
so
so
that's
awesome.
how they got to go. And then my older brother's been to Fall Out Boy like twice now, Panic at the Disco. Anyway.
I'm so jealous of the people that can go to so many concerts.
Right?
I'm like, oh, that's money I wish I could spend.
Yeah, facts.
I know I was almost, like, me and my mom had talked about it, but we never really made plans. We were going to do the Evolve tour for Imagine Dragons. I know last year, the year before, Love was in Ogden. They went to the Ogden Amphitheater, and I thought that would have been sick.
Yeah, that would bump.
I think my sisters got to go to that one.
Cool.
If I remember right. But, yeah. I was jealous because I want to go to so many more concerts now because now I got
Yeah,
that like
after
concert
you-
bug.
After you go, there's definitely a bug for sure.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to talk about what we liked about our concerts and what we didn't like. So
Okay.
yeah, and did Greta have any openers or was it just
There
them?
was an opener, and I definitely didn't know at all who they were, and I didn't look at their stuff beforehand,
enough.
which was on me. Like, if you've got openers, look at their stuff beforehand.
Yeah, especially if you can find a set list for the entire show.
Oh, yeah.
That was perfect.
Give
so
that a look.
I found one for the band Camino. That was the entire show. So you had Charlotte and Bad Sons on there as well. So I knew exactly what songs were playing, and I was like, I can sing along to all this. This makes it so much more hype.
Oh, yeah. If you can sing along, that's always the best. And so that might skew my opinion of this guy. I mean, he wasn't my favorite. I didn't hate him. And then later, his music is in the OMT system at the station. He's programmed in our station, and I was like, oh.
Who's the artist?
There you go. I genuinely don't remember.
Oh, that's fun.
Like, he wasn't bad, but he definitely didn't stand out. And that, again, might be because I didn't look into it beforehand. I know my older brother did. We kind of, but he also kind of had the same opinion where it was like, it's just kind of wasn't our music. And
fair enough.
and didn't exactly match Greta's vibe. But granted, that's why Greta's so great to me is that they don't match very many people of current time. Like, if you wanted somebody to match Greta Van Fleet as an opener, it'd be like Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd. And it's like...
Because that's who they're compared to so often.
Right.
They're
And
like, oh, it's like a Led Zeppelin cover band.
Yeah.
And you're like,
which is...
I get it.
Yeah, I get it, but I disagree.
Yeah.
But like Greta Van Fleet, like they're not going to have Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd are not openers.
No.
That would just be such utter disrespect. And obviously they know that.
The audacity.
Yeah, let alone. But the openers that's an interesting kind of thing that I didn't ever really consider when it came to a concert until I went to it or until my older brother told me about it. Because at one of the Fall Out Boy concerts he went to, the openers were really awesome. And he was like, dude, remember that song Mantra? I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, that's the opener for Fall Out Boy is the group who does Mantra. And I was like, oh, dang, really? And then he's like, and then I didn't know this other group, but their name's Daisy Grenade. And he's like, I'm telling you right now, we're going to be early because these people, they're going to be huge. And we're going to be telling our granddaughters because he's like, this is definitely high school girl music where it's like angst. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, but I love it. He's like, we're definitely going to be like, oh, we were there when they were starting. Actually, your Uncle Jake, he saw them when they opened for Fall Out Boy. And then our granddaughters are going to be like, Fall Out Boy, who's that?
You guys
And we're
are
gonna be
so old.
yeah, exactly, right. We've got that old man about us. But yeah, the openers is definitely a very interesting culture when it comes to concerts. It's I think the environment's changed a slight amount with like internet. The internet changed everything, of course. But
Yeah.
before, I figure the opener is really where a band could get their start.
For sure.
And definitely still the case, but I think being an opener for a bigger band is not exactly about getting your start anymore. It's about building your audience more than getting your start.
Yeah.
Because you can get your start on the internet now, and then if people are like, oh, I've actually seen something about you on the internet, and now you're opening for Fall Out Boy, you're going to blow up way faster.
Yeah, or because I know the band Camino, before this tour, they toured with Dan and Shay. And the audience that would come for that tour, it was about 50-50. Some people were going for just the band Camino, and then some were going for Dan and Shay. Both are huge artists.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes they're kind of just working in tandem with each other, which is so cool because you can target so many audiences with those kinds of artists.
It's an audience game, true. Because before Greta's tour, they toured with Metallica. See, like,
oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, Greta being an opener for Metallica makes sense. If you flip that, you're going to be like, oh, isn't that like a little rude? You know? So
yeah, you're like, Metallica's
I kind of let that slide when I came to Greta's concert, and I was like, they're not going to find an opener who sounds exactly like them.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously that's never going to be the case. So the reason why artists are good is because they have their own unique things. But Greta's sound is they're some of the newer people. They're revamping a whole genre basically on their own a little bit here. So
which I love.
Oh, I
love
absolutely
that we're getting
love.
so many of that kind of things. There's an artist that I really like called the Ghost Club. And they don't have a lot of songs, but one of their songs, it's called Don't Let Go, has this kind of like 80s techno beat
Oh,
that
okay.
I really like, and I don't even know why I really like it because there's not very many songs that sound like it, but it's because like of these like synth beats. It kind of just gives me like a weird sense of nostalgia,
Right?
And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know why, but this is throwing me back to the 80s, even though this definitely isn't from there and was released last year.
Yeah. There's another group that I'm liking a lot that kind of has an older band sound, but they're more like Van Halen than anybody else.
Interesting.
Their name is Deraps, Deraps.
check
Give them
them
a
out.
listen. Give them a listen. They definitely need. Well, I mean that sounds rude, but you know, as many listens as they can get is the better. You know.
Yeah.
And I really do. I actually love their sound quite a bit. And he's very clear about Van Halen's definitely an influence, and you can tell because the only album he has is a self-titled album right now, and it's got a track on it called Elizabeth. That is just guitar, and I'm like, that is exactly what Van Halen would do. I mean, that's what Eruption is, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, give them a listen.
That's way awesome. But yeah, so to kind of get back on the concerts that
Right,
we have
live
been to.
music.
Yeah, what were some things that you really liked about the Greta Van Fleet concert?
The Greta concert was fantastic. I just, man, there were so many good things. I loved how, like you say, with a live concert and live music, with that much support, they can really put on a show. And like Greta, they're storytellers. They are 100% storytellers. That's why their lyrics and their music, to me especially, is just so absolutely fantastic. And so with each song, the whole background and where they were on stage, what they were playing, where they went, and how it was blocked, all worked in tandem with each song. There was a song that was very heavy on guitar, and obviously planning this whole thing is just nuts because they've got to move from here to there and get this instrument going, that, and so lining that up. But this song that had pretty much a moment where it's just Jake on the guitar, Jake Kiska. He gets up, and there's a level behind them that hasn't really been used. So they're sitting on the stage, and they've been playing here, and then there's behind them a level of the stage, and then down in the audience there was a little square stage. Anyway, during this guitar song, he comes up on the stage, just him, and then in front of him and behind him, just fire. Just fire.
Yo.
Just straight fire. And me and my older brother, when we were in the Delta Centers, where it was at previously the Vivint Smart Home Arena, we were looking up and we were like, is that like a giant t-shirt cannon? Like, what is this? It was this huge, like, pole on a mount with a giant arm, and it looked like it could look at any part of the stage. And then once we saw the pyrotechnics, we're like, dude, that's probably water hose in case there's a fire that, starts and like there's people in the pit on fire. They just like get on that and just blast the whole pit, I was like, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because that's where, that's where the Jazz plays basketball. So we're like, is that like a t-shirt cannon or a confetti cannon?
You're like, what is that?
And then we're like, that's a fire safety hose.
That is that's kind of epic. I love that.
Yeah, and they had like some sparkler effects, and it was so like there was some pretty awesome pyrotechnics, and I was like, that's pretty classic rock, move to have that kind of pyrotechnics going on. And then, like I said, in the audience they had this little square stage that was very small and very like it was a much more intimate section because so the Delta Center is a basketball court, right? It's kind of elongated, so they're at the big stage is at the end of it, and then the square one's closer to this group. And so when they kind of transferred down to the small stage, obviously they were setting up some more pyrotechnics and what have you on the big stage, but that's where they did like a little acoustic session, and it was just the four of them in each
kind of
corner.
get more like intimate and with the crowd.
It was way awesome because like as they were setting up, Josh Kiska, the singer, he was kind of just talking at the audience, and like it was like not to be comparing to any sort of legends, but I mean I hope Greta Van Fleet becomes legendary, right? It was almost like crap, what's his name? Now I feel stupid. The singer of Queen.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury doing the callbacks to the audience, like, damn, damn.
That's awesome.
It was almost like that, where he was kind of just talking to the audience, and then he kind of laughed. He's like, I've got too much power right now. They've told me to just talk with you guys. And so, yeah, that little intimate moment where they got to kind of just be themselves, and it's written in the set list where it's like, one of the songs here they're just going to do. Like, there isn't a plan. They just want to sit down and they'll feel what they want to feel to play at that moment. And I was like, that's way awesome.
Yeah.
So they sit down and they're like, I don't know, let's play this. And so they just start playing it, and the bass player gets on like a mandolin, and I'm like, he can play the mandolin. That's freaking awesome. And so it was really cool to just see them sit like on stools with acoustic, equipment, and just looking at each other and playing. That was a really, really cool moment, really cool intimate moment.
That is so sick. Yeah, I had quite a few of those really fun moments at the band Camino, especially because they played all my favorite songs by them, which made it even better because that means I could scream my head off.
100%.
Like, let's go. They kind of had a little bit of an intimate moment as well, like the acoustic kind of style, and they were saying how they have kind of switched it up every night for each show, which kind of makes it more fun because it makes it more personal to each show.
Yeah, it's an incentive to go to live stuff for sure.
And during that, they even played a song that they've never played live.
Ooh.
So it's the band Camino's song "Sorry Mom." It's a very sweet song. I believe the lead singer Jeffrey Jordan is the one who wrote it, and he was the one who sang it and he played it on the guitar. But it felt like a very impactful kind of moment because they've never played it before, and so just having this one person play it and most of the crowd singing along with it, and it's a very soft kind of song, it went so it almost brings you to tears.
100%.
I was like, wow. I was like, I liked the song before, but I was like,
now it's got a whole new meaning.
I want the live version because that might just start making me cry. That might be my new cry in the car kind of song.
Yeah, those moments where the entire audience can sing along are always the best in live. I mean, I'm sure everybody you ask about live music, that'll come up every time. One of the huge songs for Greta Van Fleet is Black Smoke Rising, and they played that during the Little Intimate. The entire Delta Center was singing it, and I was like, dude, this is amazing.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
And Camino's stage, oh my God, their stage was so cool. So they're a rock concert, but they kind of started off sort of alt pop rock kind of. It's like a mix of those three genres.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, which is why, of course, I like them because that's just my three genres in general.
It's a really nice synergy of it for sure.
But so I would almost describe it as like tie-dye. The entire set was glow in the dark, and they had black lights in the stadium. So I wore a white shirt to the concert, and just every time lights went out, I was just glowing. But so their entire set is like super colorful and lights up. They have smoke machines that kind of add to the ambiance that gives it almost like this techno kind of vibe, which was super fun. And then the way they interacted with the audience, because it's
always the best.
That's like an art.
Oh, 100%.
For an artist to interact with the audience. And probably the best example of it is this show that I went to in Orem.
Oh, yeah, dude. This is so cool.
Yeah, so I was telling Cormick about this earlier. A guy went to the show, and he brought a sign, as most people do when they go to shows.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
And they're like, hey, what's up? And on his sign, it said it was his birthday. Can I play the drums for their song 214? And they were like, this guy got a sign. Can you do it? And he was like, yeah. And they were like, well, come on up. And they brought him on stage, and he played the drums for that song. There's a clip of it on their Instagram now, so
go give it a look.
Absolutely, go check
so
it
cool.
out. It's so sick because he nails it. And they bring him on, he's playing the guitar, and what it looked like at the end when he got off stage is they let him keep the drumsticks that he used to play.
What a birthday gift.
And I was
honestly.
like, that is the sickest thing ever in the entire stadium. When he walks off, is like, Mikey. It was so sick, and it was probably the best experience I've ever had at an event like that, because they involved the audience so much. And I was telling Cormick about this earlier. Camino, Charlotte Sands, and Bad Sons were all saying this throughout their times in the show, of how this like Salt Lake show has been like one of their best. If not, some of them, it was their favorite show. Like Charlotte Sands, this was the last show that she was on for the tour. Because she was going to join another tour in Europe.
Yeah.
But she was like, this is probably my favorite show,
Of the tour.
especially for the end.
Right, yeah, really kick it off with a bang, or end it with a bang.
And I thought that was awesome because I was talking to Cormick about this earlier. Utah seems to be humongous for entertainment.
Yeah.
We just have a different vibe when it comes to our entertainment because we're so boring otherwise. No, I'm kidding. But
you do. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
At other live music performance, they're like, man, Utah audience. Like, there was last year at the end of the school year, there was an arts festival, and the national parks came to play, and they're actually the national parks are getting pretty big. And they were playing, and it was kind of like a weird time, I guess, for a concert because it was it was like in the middle of noon, like lunchtime. And they're like, this is like one of the weirdest times to put on a concert, but you guys are out here just killing it. Like, And I hear that from a good amount of like artists where the Utah audiences are just kind of something else.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because Utah's not huge in party culture.
Not at all.
Like, which is so ironic
for
because,
exactly the reason you're thinking.
Oh yeah, but it's so ironic, especially considering we're next to Nevada, which is the party state.
Yeah, Vegas is right down there.
Exactly. We are 3 hours away from Vegas right now.
Closer to Vegas than I am home right now.
Exactly. And so it's super interesting that we just latch on to entertainment because we don't have a lot of these big party things.
Clubs, non-existent.
What we do get in the form of like bands or events and things like that coming to Utah, or like movies and TV, we absolutely latch on. And I think it's awesome because it builds a super fun culture.
Environment, yeah.
Because like, as someone who wants to go into entertainment,
right,
I'm like, I want to be able to show entertainment here because I know people are going to be like, this is so cool. And that just makes you, as an artist, feel awesome.
Right. Oh, it's so fulfilling.
And then it helps you to play off the audience. So, like, especially for musicians. Like, if you were to go to that kind of concert and the audience was just not it, it's hard to keep up that same energy. And, like, that's something I almost kind of feel with, like, our more intimate ones, like Guitars Unplugged. It almost feels kind of bad for the artist, I would guess, because they're not as invested as it seems. Like, obviously, everyone still loves the artist, but they're not actively, like, a part of the show, like how these kind of concerts are. And so it's really interesting to see the dynamics between everything.
For sure.
But yeah, that was kind of our concert experiences.
Yeah, if you got to see U2 in the Dome this last weekend, I'm incredibly jealous.
Yeah.
Just saying. One of my friends went, Christian. So jealous of you. Dude.
We hate you, Christian.
No, I love Christian. I'm just incredibly jealous that he got to see U2 in the Dome.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Down in Vegas, bro.
Which, speaking of the jealousy, we're coming to our question of the week.
Yes.
So, because we talked about concerts today, we want to know, what concert would you want to go to?
Ooh.
Who would you want to see in a concert?
So this has to be alive, I'm assuming, I guess.
Yes.
Because I don't like old people and dead people.
You're like, if I could see Queen in concert, like Live Aid, that would be sick.
Oh, dude. I would do some very dark things to be able to go to Live Aid. Like, that is, if you told me, make the perfect concert, I would just say Live Aid. Like,
you have to rip a baby in half to
with
go
your
back,
bare hands.
to go back in time and watch Live Aid.
Done.
Immediately, Cormick's just like, which way?
Where's the baby?
Horizontal, vertical?
How old is it? Do I have to use my bare hands? You said bare hands. Okay. Can I sharpen my nails? You know, like, I would do very dark things to be able to go to Live Aid. I'll tell you that much right now. But living, I mean, if you'd have asked me before I went to Greta Van Fleet, it would have been Greta Van Fleet. I could say Daft Punk, which is kind of like very different. I mean, they're separated, right, and not making anything new and not doing that stuff anymore, but they're alive.
True.
So Daft Punk.
It's not entirely impossible. Like, NSYNC is get them to do their reunion tour. It's
Exactly.
not impossible.
Trolls 3 is all about that. maybe we'll do a review of that one.
Could you imagine like the NSYNC tour and they all come out and they're like dressed as trolls?
The Trolls. I would cry.
I would actually really want to go
Just
if,
for that.
If just for that.
Just to take photos.
'Cause that would be so funny.
Yeah. So Daft Punk maybe. Who else? Walk Off the Earth would be really fun to go to
yes.
live. Yeah, I think that's sufficient. Those are good names.
I like that. Those are pretty good ones. I would really like to go to Ghost. I think is a really good one. So
right.
Mariana Cross, Hunter's Moon. I think those would be pretty sick because they're a rock band as well, and they're kind of more like subgenre because they're like Swedish rock, which is super interesting. I think they could be a really cool concert. And then one I think is a totally different vibe, but I think would be really fun is the Arcadian Wild.
Oh, dude,
Because
yeah.
their music, it's definitely more...
That's almost like a Burning Man.
Exactly. It's definitely more softer, it's more intimate, and it's a bit more acoustic. I think it would be so interesting to see what that kind of concert is like, because it will be so vastly different than Camino, Ghost, whatever.
Where the music itself has a different energy to it. The audience will have a different energy, so that interaction between them is going to be that would be cool.
Because it would be curious to see how people get into it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the Arcadian Wild or Ghost, I would like to go see a bajillion things. The 1975, I think, would be a really fun one.
Dude, yeah, now you got me thinking of more. Like,
yeah.
Just
Imagine Dragons.
Clearly.
Yeah, obviously that one would be really
I was
sick.
thinking now I was like talking about how my older brother got to see the Bleachers. I'd love that.
Mm-hmm.
Or Blink-182. They just got back together.
True.
Take me to that.
What's the band? The people that sing Heaven Knows. Cindy Lou Who.
The Pretty Reckless.
Yeah,
that would be way cool, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be such a sick.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Cindy Lou Who from the live-action Grinch. Where are you, Christmas? She has a heavy metal rock band. The Pretty Reckless. Give them a listen.
They
and
go
you'll be like,
hard.
huh?
It's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is good.
I think they could put on
That
a
would
pretty
be
good
awesome
concert
too. Yeah,
But once again, rock. I just think
rock is really good.
after
live.
my first concert basically being a rock concert, I was like, yeah,
makes sense.
this is the kind of vibe I would like. I think this would be freaking
sure.
sick.
And then I love the memes where it's like rock people, they dress like the darkest, and then the music is like goes so heavy and hard. But then you meet them and they're like, oh, I'm an accountant.
I'm an accountant.
And they're just like nice folks.
You will never make it in this.
You will Oh yeah, but I rock music live is definitely. I mean, all music live, I imagine, but rock music's probably the biggest reputation for live music. Things like Live Aid definitely build into that.
But yeah, that was our answers.
Give
to
us a list, like we
the
did.
question of the week. We want to know, what concert would you want to go to?
Please,
because we need more music to listen to.
Yeah, honestly,
I'm always looking for
Plus,
new songs.
Plus, if you want to, you can listen to. We'll probably play it on the radio on Music Mondays.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful time. But yeah, answer our question of the week, and we'll see you for the next episode. Bye.
You have been entertained. Yeah.
That was so hot.
I know, dude.